For March 6th, we have the freedom of Christ is worth the surrender of absolutely anything. Relief, not remorse, awaits the repentant. Well, it's hard to be remorseful about something when you no longer have a brain by which to feel anything, or have any emotional attachment, or be able to blame God, or be able to say, oh, thank God for my amazing heavenly experience that I'm having without a brain. Wow, it's so great how God has created this spiritual body for me that doesn't have the same thoughts, but okay. Alright, here we go. Father, your word says that a person who lacks self-control is like a city whose walls are broken down. Apparently based on Proverbs 25:28. Now, my King James Version says, of course, he that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. So this says spirit, and this says lacks self-control. One of them has to be incorrect. And obviously, the idea of a spirit used to be just the breath, of course. When the breath left the body, people thought, oh, the spirit is leaving the body. That's what it was. It was the same thing. When the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the deep, it was just the wind or the air of God, because they believe God was air. Everything stems from natural sources. And mankind in the past were not the biggest idiots ever. They at least looked at the natural world and tried to come to conclusions based on that. They didn't just start making up spiritual nonsense. That came from confusions about the world that they had at the time. We just have to get past that garbage and come up with better explanations, which during the last 2,000 years since Jesus, we certainly have come up with way better explanations than anything Jesus told us or anything in the Old Testament. And the next one, sometimes I feel like there is so much rubble, I can't rebuild the wall. Alright, Nehemiah 4:49. Nehemiah 4:10. And Judah said, the strength of the bearers of burdens is decayed, and there is much rubbish, so that we are not able to build the wall. Huh? He's talking about an actual wall. This has nothing to do with this nonsense about metaphor or whatever. I can't rebuild a wall. But your word claims that you are the repairer of broken walls and the restorer of streets with dwellings. Isn't that nice? His word would say that, huh? Gives you all these false promises. Isaiah 58. Rebuilding walls. It's called building. It's called, it's an actual thing we did as a human species, accomplish things. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Disgusting. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations, and thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. Okay, and right before that was, and the Lord shall guide thee continually, and satisfy thy soul in drought, and make fat thy bones. And thou shalt be like a watered garden, and like a spring of water, whose waters fail not. Even though that's impossible. There's no way waters will never cease in a spring. Water sources change, the locations of water changes, science, reality, yeah, that comes into play. Next we have, please introduce yourself to me by these wonderful names and